lost all control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. And I remembered to unmute myself. Ladies and gentlemen, give me a round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal. This is our Wednesday 2-hour show. 2 hours. I've missed you guys. It's been a while. These Monday, Tuesdays are great for getting stuff done. And I got a lot done, but I do miss doing the show. So I'm always excited for Wednesday when I get back in the saddle here. Hope you guys had a great hump day. It's pretty much over now, so this is hopefully a celebration for you guys. And hello to those of you who came over from Bigfoot Odyssey. I appreciate it a bunch, you guys. Thanks for stopping in. I hope you like what you see and maybe stick around and come back and you subscribe, all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's really cool to see new faces in the chats all the time, and it's great to see you. I don't know what to say about that, Gary. I know what you mean, though. So, hope everything's going good, guys. Thanks so much. Don is not able to be here tonight. He's kind of under the weather tonight, so he's having a rest and relax and catch up on sleep night. The guy's been working like a machine lately, so it's understandable. Real life just happens. So unfortunately, we'll miss him again tonight. It's always a lot harder to do these solo, but it's nice when he's here and we can just bounce things back and forth. But that's not going to happen tonight. He might show up and chat if he gets a nap or something. So we'll see. He was just all wound out, rather, not wound up. So we got to give him a night, but it's just me. So I hope that's okay, but it can be you too. You can be a part of every show here on the Paranormal Portal. If you want to call in and share something paranormal you've experienced, I'd love to hear from you. The number is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. So, yeah, I'll be looking and trying to keep an eye on that as much as I can, and get you on the show if you want to share something of your very own. It'd be great to meet all you guys as well. But yeah, there's just a lot on the plate here. I've got a whole smorgasbord of paranormal fun just waiting for you, including a sound file Mr. Germer sent me. It's pretty cool. And we're going to play that tonight, too, probably after a break that we're probably going to take around the 1 hour mark, just so you know, so that I can grab libations and use the loo and and all that fun stuff. But I got a lot here. So, again, if you're new to the Paranormal Portal, this is a platform of all things paranormal. So we cover the cryptids. We cover the Bigfoot, the Dogman. We cover the ghosts, the UFOs. We cover as much as we can, even strange phenomena, lots of different strange stuff. And I love covering it all because the paranormal is not just the abnormal. It's not just where things are goofy or weird or something. I really firmly believe that there's something absolutely profound going on in our world, and we're not aware of it. It's like a party that's going on and we're not invited. So we kind of get peeks at it when things happen that we're not used to, and the word paranormal just means not normal. So I guess a lot of things could qualify for that, but we're talking about supernatural paranormal events. And to me, it's exciting. It means we got a lot more to learn. There's a lot more mystery in this world than our egos would like to pretend we think we got this all nailed down. We think we got it all sorted, but we don't. And that's what the scope of the show is to go into all these weird, wonderful, strange things and talk about them and discuss. It's a discussion show. It's a talk show. And I'll be doing a lot of talking. So I hope that doesn't bug you, because that's what I do here. I got a really weird story right now I want to go into right away, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if this is anything visual. Oh, yeah, it is. I'm going to have to put this on the screen, guys, because there's some really cool stuff that's being depicted in this article, and it's really strange. I don't know what to make of this. This is weirdness, but I'm not going to, create any judgments on it. We just don't know what the hell it is. But it is a strange thing that was captured apparently by some tourists. So I got an idea or two that I'm going to throw out later of what it might be that's, much less spectacular. But let's see what it is. This is coming from animalien.com, and it's, what the hell is that? Oh, is that working? I'm always a little nervous when I push buttons and things look differently. But yeah, it's working. I can see it's up on the screen, but it's failure in the Matrix. Tourist photographed flying stones. And there's some great pictures coming up, so it's pretty intense. It said this happened near Slade Community in Powell County, Kentucky, USA, and the place is famous for its beautiful landscapes. It's very popular with climbers who often spend their extreme workouts and competitions in the gorge of the Red River. Numerous tourists also come here. One of them made this photo, which, as indicated by the Mutual UFO Organization, is authenticated and therefore not in doubt as a fact. Well, that's good to know. I didn't know that. I'm cold reading this with you guys, so I don't know what the hell it's going to say until I start reading it. But it says, as says the photographer who decided to remain anonymous at the time of the shooting, he did not notice anything. The man was shooting in fast frame mode, and later, after reviewing the pictures, he noticed an anomaly in only one frame where there were 3 stones in the background, as if hanging in the air. On the other frames, there is nothing like that. Well, that's strange. So that's really a very rapid phenomena. And there's the 3 stones that were captured in that formation, and it's kind of peculiar that it is a triangle. Because there's a lot of mysticism and symbolism in the triangle, and that's can be something to indicate what might be going on. The man was shooting in fast frame. I already read that. It says what it is, no one can say. The Mutual UFO specialists themselves are at a loss because it doesn't look like a UFO. The lumps in the air are clearly formless, as if they were really stones. But how can this be? That is why the theory in the Matrix in which we live seems the most likely. In this case, everything is explained by the failure in the program. But if this is not a failure in a holographic reality, then maybe it is somehow connected in parallel worlds, or some users of the internet assume. So that's really peculiar. What I was thinking of initially when I was just glancing at this as I was pulling it over and putting it on screen for you guys is what about some of those plastic grocery bags? They can get light and blow up in the air, and they're of course rather formless, but I don't see any handles. But I thought maybe it could be something like that. However, if the person was shooting in fast mode, that means there's several frames. Well, it can be like a couple frames or 3 frames per second, and maybe even more. But the point being is that this allegedly only existed in one of those frames. And that is really peculiar. I don't know what to make of that. That's strangeness. But here it is for you. For your viewing pleasure, what do you guys think it might be? I have no idea. And the fact that, it does, again, it is in the triangle shape. So I don't know. Maybe it is a UFO. Cloaked. Again, I did witness a UFO. I've seen one. But the only way I could see it, for those of you that are new, was using night vision binoculars. When I lowered the binoculars, there was nothing there. It was just the empty sky. But when I put it up, it was at nighttime. You'll have to refer back to any of the interviews I've done, or back in some episodes here on the channel where I've mentioned it. But essentially, it didn't exist. It was like it was cloaked. Now, I wonder if this is something potentially similar. and that these stones are part of the fuselage of the ship, or cloaked or disguised. Maybe those couldn't cloak. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas here because this is really strange. I don't know what to make of things like this, but could it be a quirk in the Matrix? Sure. Could it be just some kind of reality went sideways? I guess. It's all on the board here on the Paranormal Portal. We just don't know. And if you ever hear anybody claim they're a paranormal expert or an expert on anything in the paranormal, they are a liar. There are no such things. This stuff does not lend itself to rigorous study. And to be an expert, you have to rigorously study something. So, but there you go. That's the first weirdness tonight. The first strangeness that I had pulled up for you. Those kind of things are weird. They don't really make any sense. But again, this is the world we live in. This is the stuff that happens here. So let's keep going here. I found this one interesting as well. This one talks about the Mothman. And now I know the Mothman is it's obviously a very famous type of being, and I don't want to say it's a cryptid because we really don't know. And if you're familiar with the Mothman prophecies, then it would suggest that Mothmen are intelligent and are, here to serve some kind of larger purpose. And I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that. That's kind of out there, but I haven't, I got to admit, I have not watched the Mothman prophecies nor read the book, so I can't really come at it from any place of true skepticism. It's just on the surface, it seems like a bizarre thing. Now, for those of you that may not be familiar with it, the Mothman is a man-sized being that appears to have the wings of a moth, and it was viewed in the town of Point Pleasant. I think that's West Virginia, back in the 50s, I think, and it was appeared on a bridge. And that bridge, soon after those sightings, by a matter of days, that bridge collapsed and killed a whole lot of people. And so the belief was formed that the Mothman is some kind of harbinger of bad things that are coming. Something bad is going to happen if you see the Mothman. Now, what I found, and I'd heard this before I found the article. I heard this years ago. And it's also said to have appeared in many other places, not just in Point Pleasant. There was a claim that it appeared in Minnesota prior to the bridge collapse there. There were people that swear that they saw the Mothman just prior to that bridge collapsing. There were people that claimed they were in New York City prior to the 9/11 disaster and attacks. And of course, I don't know. I've not seen any visual evidence or I have not talked to any of those witnesses, but those claims are out there. But this is another one of those claims, and this is coming from Animalien again, and it's claimed that the Mothman was spotted before the Chernobyl disaster. And of course, everybody knows the Chernobyl nuclear disaster in I think that was in Ukraine, wasn't it? It was part of the USSR back in the communism regime, but the nuclear power plant melted down and has been the site. It continues to be a no-go zone for anyone except for people that are very specially clothed. There is parts of the zones you can get into for a specific period of time, but it's very carefully monitored, and they don't let people poke around too much in that zone. It's an exclusion zone of sorts. So this is saying that the Mothman appeared there prior to this. So is that something? Maybe. Let's see what the article says. It says, a bizarre event occurred before the accident at Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The station staff saw a strange creature in the sky, and only after they were tormented by nightmares for a long time. The Russian journalist interviewed the archaeologist Robert Moskal from Sydney, who had been in the exclusion zone several times. It was on the territory of the accident that Robert first heard the story of the Chernobyl thrush, is an omen of something terrible. The eerie creature appeared in the sky April 26, 1986. As the archaeologist noted, the bird described by the station workers reminded him of a story of the Mothman. Something like this has been seen in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, since the 1960s. Okay, so the 60s rather, sorry. Mothman observation stories stopped only on December 15th, 1967, when the Silver Bridge collapsed. The expert added that the Mothman and the Chernobyl thrush are the harbingers of death. His interview, Robert Muskell, ended with the words, "As the moth reaches for the light, so does the Mothman and the Chernobyl thrush strive for disastrous energy." Well, that's a whole lot of supposition, I would say. How does somebody know that? Are they interviewing these things? Again, I don't mean to be cheeky, but those are some pretty bold claims to make. How do you make that kind of assumption? I was going to say assertion or something. I had some word brewing in my mouth that didn't actually exist. So, but it's an interesting thing. Could they be out there? Yeah, maybe there's more than one. Now, there is an ongoing series of witnesses seeing what they describe as Mothman up around the Chicago area in Illinois in the Great Lakes region. There's a lot of sightings there. And if you ever want to check out anything more about those sightings, I would recommend going to the site called the singularfortean.com. Singularfortean, FORTEAN.com. That's by the Whalens, Mr. Whalen. I don't know their names, their first names, but it's a husband and wife team that put on that site, and they're investigators, and they have interviewed many witnesses in that area. They're actually working on a documentary about it currently, and so there is a lot of sightings even to this day. Now, I guess Chicago's kind of a tragedy in a lot of ways anyway, with all that's been going on there, but, you know, I don't know. I'm not trying to cast any aspersions here, but that is, there's a lot of problems in Chicago. And, you know, maybe there is something bad going to happen there. I don't know. Could they be harbingers of doom? Perhaps. It's anybody's guess, but this is definitely a claim that's out there, and it persists even till today. So I think the first sighting was the Point Pleasant in the 60s there. And then all these other sightings allegedly happened around the globe, but currently they're allegedly appearing in the Chicago area. So what's coming? Hell, I don't know, but maybe it's not good. So this next one has to do with the Bigfoot, because I know some of you Bigfoot Odyssey listeners love some Bigfoot stuff. So I whipped up a fresh batch of Bigfoot stuff. No, I just found this article. I thought it was good. Same site again, animalien.com, is talking about woman reported Bigfoot sightings at her home. Most of these articles are really quick and fast. They don't take too long to get through. But the article says, one resident of North Carolina claims to have been visited on various occasions by the mysterious creature. Vicky Cook, who lives in Shelby, states that her backyard has become a magnet for the famous cryptid, and that multiple individuals have visited her several times. She even has proof of the alleged Bigfoot sightings in the form of plaster casts of footprints of different dimensions and some low-resolution pictures taken on the estates using a trail camera. So apparently they did stumble into the trail camera. That's very rare. Sometimes I think this can't be real, she said, while describing one such encounter. It went in front of my camera. I screamed. I didn't know what it was, but the thing was tall. Curiously, Cook also argues that the mysterious creature has a sweet tooth. Mostly like candy cookies, they love peanut brittle, chocolate, peanut butter, sandwiches, Vicky said. They don't like apples and bananas. I find that very strange. Now, bananas I'd heard of, but a lot of people use apples and allegedly have pretty good results. So I don't know why that would be. I guess it doesn't probably compare to peanut brittle, but I mean, it's food, right? You can see below a local news report with more details about her experiences. Well, we might as well check that out. Since it's a news report, that should be fair to share. Let's check that out.
A mystery tonight in North Carolina in the forest. A local woman says she is seeing something very strange, something that she can't explain. NBC Charlotte's Xavier Walton just wrapped up an interview with that woman. He joins us now with her story.
Slideshow.
Vicky Cook.
It went in front of my camera.
Well, she's still scratching her head.
Sometimes I said, this can't be real.
Her video, well, it's grainy.
At least 7 or 8.
But her conscience is clear.
Screamed, I didn't know what it was, but that thing was tall.
She says the Sasquatch sighting started back in March.
There's one, there's another one.
Footprints are Vicky's proof.
I think I've counted about 8 different size prints, a 16-inch plaster cast. Maybe a juvenile, but look how long it is. That's a big print.
Coming through there.
From here, there.
And then going back.
Through that hole there. And it's no bears. I already been through all that.
Are you sure it's not any bears?
There's no bears.
For centuries now, trackers have been trying to trap the elusive creature. John Bruner documents sightings across the country and runs the Bigfoot 911 Facebook page.
It was huge. It was on 2 legs. It was bipedal. The hair on the head and the body was real stringy and matted. There was no hair on the face, and the nose was flat.
And right now it's showing all the pictures I've taken.
Back to Vicky.
Well, I take them things mostly like candy, and
She says she doesn't want her neighbors going hungry.
they love peanut brittle. They're not too crazy. They don't like apples and bananas. I don't know if it makes them,
What's their favorite?
the candy.
In Cleveland County, I'm Xavier Walton for NBC Charlotte.
So there you have it. I gotta wonder about that. So she's essentially habituating these Bigfoot, and of course, there's lots of different schools of thought on that. I think generally it's probably a dangerous proposition. I think it's kind of ill-advised to do that, but I'm no expert either. But generally, I've just heard all the tantrum stories when that goes bad, or when you can't make it out to feed them when they're used to getting food. Apparently, they have like Hulk tantrums. They just go nuts when they don't get their needs met like they're used to. So I don't know. The other part that I wonder about, and I think that it's kind of a risky thing to start including that much sugary stuff into their diets, because we really don't know anything about them. We don't know what kind of long-term effects it'll have. We don't know what kind of short-term effects it'll have. But I mean, of course they like sweet stuff. Everybody does, but does that make it a good idea? I mean, I love Twinkies, but I'm not going to sit around with a box of them and chow down. And I'm a person that's used to this processed foods and stuff, but if they're not really used to that, I don't know. That seems to be like it could be causing some problems. And this is a discussion I had with Jim King, when he was on the show. He's like, we don't know anything about it. And then I thought, God, he's absolutely right. We don't know what their bodies are like, what they do, how they tolerate those kind of foods, if they can tolerate those kind of foods, or if you might get some kind of weird reaction. I mean, God, what if they had peanut allergies? I mean, we don't know. So you're feeding them peanut brittle, and they're out like with their swollen esophagus trying to breathe. I don't know. And I realize it may seem kind of silly, but you just don't know. And I guess they'll eat it, but is it good for them? And then what about tooth decay? So if their teeth start rotting, it's not like they're brushing them, I'm pretty sure. So you're introducing all those really intense sugars, and those are going to just sit in their teeth and rot them. So what then when they can't actually eat and it hurts too much to eat, so they're going to start starving? So I think that is really not well thought out at all. I think that's absolutely kind of frightening, really, when you consider the possible ramifications that you could be pushing these creatures to death, or to struggle, or to have real problems by just trying to get them to come in. And so I would be really cautious about things like that. Yeah, go to the dentist. Thank you, Cha-Cha. I appreciate that. They seem to like apples in my neck of the woods. Yeah, exactly, Great Lakes. I appreciate that, because that's what I always hear about. I always hear about people using apples and putting them out. And they're a healthy, not intense type of snack. So what danger are you putting the other humans in? That's a good point, Farm. I appreciate that. It is true. I mean, what's going to happen when they're used to people providing food? Are they going to try to get food from other people? And then are they going to get shot because they're walking up to people looking for handouts, I just think it's really misguided. Just because it's another situation where we just don't know. We don't have any basis of understanding this species, whether physiologically or behaviorally or anything. I mean, we just know that they leave prints, they break sticks, they might make structures, they like to put X's out in the woods, they eat a lot of different stuff, and generally they avoid us. So, behaviorally, we don't know a hell of a lot more than that. So I think that it's just really, really playing with matches in a lot of ways. So those, I mean, that's just my opinions. Just looking for any other comments here that might be pertinent. And again, just like on Bigfoot Odyssey, if you Bomber says Sasquatch can't brush their teeth either. Rotting teeth equals angry squatch. It's not rocket appliances. Rocket appliances. Yeah, we don't have a lot of those around here. Yeah. So I think it's just an interesting discussion point. I would caution against it personally. Again, there's so many stories out there of these things just going wonky if they don't get their food, because they behaviorally they start to depend on it, and so their whole family unit will depend on what you bring out and when you bring it out. And once you break that pattern, it's not like they really understand. They just know you're not giving them what they want, and so that's a whole different kind of animal. I mean, it's one thing if a person has a tantrum, but when it's 1,000 pounds, possibly 8, 9, 10 feet tall, and can juggle motor vehicles, that's probably not the right thing you want to start making angry. But yeah, I think that's interesting. I've never seen her casts, so I don't have any idea other than what they showed in that little clip. But I'm sure she probably does. She's bringing them in, but I didn't really get much from that trail cam image either. But I don't know. It's anybody's guess, really. I guess. Let's see. Oh, this one's about a near-death experience. I suppose we could check out that one. It says, woman who died for 27 minutes wrote haunting message. Now, I love to cover NDEs. This tonight is just kind of a grab bag, folks. So I'm gonna just read you or talk to you about anything I've run. I've got a whole bunch of things pulled up, and sometimes I just see something else. So I'm like, oh look, something shiny. That's my hosting practice. So this is something shiny. But again, I do a lot with NDEs. It was a real passion of mine to study those because I find that to be a potential proof of life after death. I think that a lot of amazing things have come back with people, and I read a bunch of books by Raymond Moody, who was a doctor that studied the near-death experience phenomena, but he focused on children, and I thought that was really a great idea. And his rationale was, look, if we talk to an adult, they're going to have preconceived notions. They're going to have religious ideation. They're going to have, dogma. They're going to have all of this stuff going with them into this experience. But children don't. Generally, children don't. And it's pretty amazing that pretty much universally between the adults and the children, including very young children, had very similar experiences. The tunnel, the light, meeting with relatives or wonderful beings was very common and seemed to be pretty universal. So I think there really is something to it. And it may be one of the greatest evidences of the life continuing that we have. So here's the story. It says, after regaining consciousness, a woman whose heart stopped for 27 minutes wrote down something unexpected, reports iHeart.com. I don't know what iHeart.com is. It says, recently, when Tina Hines suffered a heart attack, she only survived thanks to her husband's tireless attempts and a team of first responders resuscitating her a whopping 6 times. After a combined total of 27 minutes without a heartbeat, when she finally regained consciousness, the first thing she did was gesture for a pen and paper. Incapable of speaking because of the tube in her mouth, she scribbled on the pad the words, "It's real." They asked her what she meant, and with tears in her eyes, she pointed to the sky, clearly meaning heaven. When things got better, Tina was able to tell the shocking truth. After death, an incredibly colorful picture appeared, and then came the silhouette of Jesus. He stood in front of the black gate, behind which was paradise. Her niece, Maddie Johnson, was so stunned by the message from her aunt that she would later get a tattoo on her arm. It has given me tangibleness to an eternal hope that is not too far away, she wrote. That's beautiful, and I could show you the picture, but I guess I will, since they do mention it, and the picture is in here of the image. Oh, everything just disappeared. Lovely. Sorry about that. There we go. So here's the image. And I think that it's real. So this is exactly how she wrote it on that pad of paper. And I suppose you just came back from the dead, so you can't be marked off for your penmanship. But that's really cool. And what a beautiful message, I guess. You know, how much lighter would the burden of passing be to just have that faith that it's real? And many people do. And I'm not saying that that's unique to the near-death experience phenomena, but it's certainly a great reinforcer of the idea that our lives will continue. And I think that that's very, very powerful. So I apologize. I'm going to have to do this, though, but I got to go take a break. I was drinking a lot of water, and it's caught up with me, ladies and gentlemen, and I can't just throw it over to Don to take care of business for me. So I'm going to go set up a break here, and then I just got to use the loo. What can I say? Sorry about that. I hate to do it. I usually aim it for the hour, but obviously I'm not going to make it. So be patient with me. I will be back in just a moment, so don't go anywhere. Just a couple minutes. I will set you up with a lovely paranormal video and song ensemble for you to enjoy. I guess since we have a lot of Bigfoot Odyssey people that came in, I better do a Bigfoot one. So here we go. I'll be right back. gentlemen, I am back and much better. Thank you so much for all your patience on my behalf. I'm now much lighter than I was before I left. So, hope you guys are doing great. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. Got a lot more of the same coming yet, but I just was looking at, again, if you want to call in, the phone number for the show is 720-923-0500. If you're hearing something that you have something to comment on, if you have something to share, if you have a paranormal encounter of your very own you'd like to share, love to hear from you. So the phone lines are open if you want to just call. It's always available here on the portal. So we are going through several different articles tonight of strange phenomena, weirdness, and wonder, because that's what we do here on the portal. We love the unknown. We love the unexplained. That's just where we live. So this one's kind of these photos are I don't know. I got a whole article of strange photos, and some of them are goofy, and we'll get to that in a minute. They're apparently photos that science can't explain. I think I can explain a few of them, but some of them are kind of peculiar, and they do beg some explanation. Oh, we got a call. Looks like we are hearing from our very own Carlton. Is this you, Carlton?
Mr. Brent Thomas, how are you?
I'm doing good, brother. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Just wanted to make a quick comment on the Bigfoot thing.
Yeah.
I helped birth a calf last night for the farmer across the street from me, and I had to help him move this 1,400-pound heifer into a position so he could help her birth because she stopped pushing. So we basically had to help her birth this cow.
Okay.
And at one point she got out of, there's like a lock that goes around their neck so they can't like back up and kick you. And at one point that lock got loose, and she backed up, and I had to get behind her on the fence, kind of like perch on the two fences and kind of like try to steer her back in. And I just want to say, if a Sasquatch weighs anywhere between 800 and 1,400 pounds, this 1,400-pound cow, it didn't matter what I did. She wasn't moving until she was ready to move.
Yeah.
I was just noticing that and imagining, you know, if you translated that to an intelligent being that's built like these Sasquatch are supposed to be, just, you know, how powerful that being really is. It's just an interesting scope or perspective on it.
Yeah, it really is. It's got to be frightening. Did everything work out okay, by the way? The calf okay?
Everything worked out good. We saved the mom, and the calf came out. Excuse me.
Oh, so
the calf came out alive, and it all worked out well.
Oh, good.
But yeah,
no, I was
just thought I would.
I appreciate that, and I think that you're right. I think that much power. It's hard to conceptualize what that much power would be like.
Yeah.
So when you consider, you know, when you consider a gorilla is, you know, at least, you know, 10 times stronger than the most powerful Olympic weightlifter, you know, how much, and they stand roughly 5 to 6 feet, you know, when they're up on their fists. So you take something and double that, and what do you have? Well, it's literally superhuman. I mean, it's literally like, you know, out of the range of conceptualization. But there's a video that Thinker Thunker, I think, had it. It came out of Russia, and he did Thinker Thunker did a review on it. But it shows these trees in Russia that are just kind of, all of a sudden they're like being lifted up a few feet and then moving, and then, you know, and then they fall down. And according to what I understand of this video, this, you know, there was no way a heavy equipment was up there pulling trees. It was in a region that probably wouldn't have been possible. And they had sound to the video. So if there was heavy equipment up there, you would have heard it in the sound, because you know, you could hear the crackling of the trees being pulled up by the roots. Now, these are full-grown conifers. They're not just, you know, a little sapling or something. But what kind of force would that take to pull up a full-grown conifer out of the ground, carry it, and then lay it down somewhere else?
Oh man, it's no joke. It's no joke. Like with my tractor, I've moved a few trees of that size. Like I'll hook it with a backhoe and skid it along. And I tell you, even with a big, heavy-duty, powerful machine like that, you're still struggling to manipulate that tree. I can't imagine just ripping. Like a backhoe can't even take it out of the ground. It takes a lot of work working around the base of the stump to even get it out.
Right.
Like, I can't imagine just ripping it out of the ground, throwing it over your shoulder, and walking away. Like, imagine the force there. It's incredible.
Yes.
And, yeah, I mean, that cow, like, I both feet on her hindquarters, up against the fence trying to push her to make her, just to get her to move forward a little bit, and it wasn't even making her budge. It wasn't even, it was like, I might as well have been a fly on her back.
Yeah, that's a whole different understanding of strength. I mean, we're used to regarding that in human range, like, oh, I can bench 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, wow, you're massive, you're incredibly strong. But it's like I can bench a truck. It's like, wait a minute, you're out of the range.
Right.
You're in a whole different range at that point.
I can throw a truck at you.
I don't know if you were you here.
And what?
So I interviewed Becky Cook, author of Bigfoot Lives in Idaho, and she was a guest on the podcast.
Yeah.
And she told me a
Yeah,
story.
I heard that podcast. That was awesome.
Well, yeah, and she told the story, and this is also, I'm going to repeat it for those listeners that came over for Bigfoot Odyssey, because obviously they're Bigfoot kind of people. But she told the story of this old man, 80-some-year-old man that she interviewed. She could never publish the story because she could never get the corroboration from the other witnesses because they had already passed away. And then she couldn't get more corroboration from that gentleman because he passed away. But he told her a story of him being up in the mountains with his friends, and they were hunting elk. And this is in Idaho. And they're up there in the mountains, and they watched a full herd of elk come down over the ridge and then come down through an area and then move past. And then she as she told it, the old man said, then a big bull elk came following his harem, and he came down that same path, but suddenly he stopped, sniffed the air, just drew a bead right on something that the people couldn't see. They just saw it looking at the area of a big boulder. And all of a sudden they said the elk lowered its head and charged full steam into whatever the hell was behind this boulder. And sure enough, what rolled out was a large, hairy man. And as she described it, the gentleman said that this Bigfoot and this elk were going at it for a little while. And then she said that suddenly the Bigfoot took its left hand, grabbed the rack of this elk, pulled it over with one hand, and with the other hand, its right hand, disemboweled this elk from the sternum down to the groin. Just disemboweled it, just like with his hand, ripped out all of its intestines, all of its innards, and sure enough, obviously the elk died right then and there, and it fell down. And then they observed this big foot, which they were sure it had to be a Bigfoot because it just disemboweled and held a grown elk bull with one hand and disemboweled it with the other. They said they observed it pick up this elk carcass and rip it in half. And it took the rear quarter and legs, threw it over its shoulder, and walked up over the ridge. And then those gentlemen moved over and checked it out firsthand to see that, oh my God, they couldn't believe what they saw. But I believe they were a First Nations descent, so they were going to utilize whatever was left, and they did. So nothing went to waste. But it's just that the idea of the strength and the ferocity that they're capable of. I mean, they could pluck our head like a dandelion,
Yeah. I mean, that elk is like a smaller version of this cow that I was working with, and you just to even be able to pick that thing up is incredible strength. To be able to pick it up by its horns and disembowel it in like one swift move, like Kung Fu is good style. That's crazy,
Yeah. It is a crazy story, and I was just like, wow, I couldn't believe it. But she was a lot of fun to talk to, and I'm glad. Did you enjoy that podcast, by the way?
I enjoyed that podcast very much. That was a great guest and a great interview.
Yeah, she was.
And
nice.
I was going to say something else about that. like the picking it up and disemboweling it, but I don't remember what it was now, so I guess it's not that important. But yeah, that podcast was excellent, and I'm going to try and listen to more of your podcasts. It's one I just haven't been able to keep up with, but I made a point of going back and listening to the recent one, that one, and the other two before it.
Oh, good.
And both of those guests were excellent and excellent discussions. So keep up the great work over in the podcast world as well, Brent.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And thanks for calling in, man. It's good to hear from you.
Always a pleasure. Always good to talk to you. And what up, Portal people? I'll put it back to you.
All right, see you now. Yeah, it was a lot of fun talking to her, and I'm going to get her back on. I want to talk more about her books, and I actually got to get a hold of them so I can read them. But I did read all of her webpage and stuff, and just really, really cool stuff. And all of her books are compiled just from the Idaho region. So she only writes specifically about the Idaho region. She's got 3 books. Bigfoot Lives, Bigfoot Still Lives, Bigfoot Lives in Idaho, Bigfoot Still Lives in Idaho, and Bigfoot Lives Forever in Idaho are her 3 books. And those are just compiled stories. She's gone around and interviewed witnesses. And so it sounds phenomenal. So I got to get my hands on all 3 of those. That was a lot of fun to talk to her. And yeah, I mean, the strength is just off the charts. We just can't understand what that means to, be confronted with that. And I've looked at artist depictions. Speaking of the Bigfoot, you look at artist depictions of like I just saw one recently that showed like a hunter, and he's standing there, and out of the brush had come, it must have been a 9-foot Bigfoot, and just the size. When you look at the comparison of this adult male holding a firearm, and then you look at that size that he's confronted with, and people on the outside think, well, why didn't you shoot it? You had a gun. But you were confronted with this wall of flesh, and it's pissed, and it's not happy to see you. It's freaking terrifying to look at. And you know that it would just as soon kill you as walk past you. I mean, either way is good. I think they do go out of their way not to hurt people. But I mean, if you were to provoke it with shooting it, there would be nothing to stop it from just pump. In fact, there's old stories, I think coming from the 1800s. There was a story of them, some I don't know if it was a posse of people that were tracking down a couple of Bigfoot, but there's a story that they did find one of them in like a field, and the person that shares the story relates how this Bigfoot ran full bore down on this group of men, and one by one yanked their heads off as it ran, not even slowing. And I mean, what really can people do? Without firearms, we'd be absolutely helpless, of course. But I mean, there's always something. But my point is that it's hard to understand. And those people are like, why didn't you get a picture? It's like, all you're thinking of, it must be that this thing could kill me. This thing may want to eat me. This might be the last experience I have in this world. So when I heard the growling behind me when I was younger, that I'm pretty convinced was a Bigfoot. I just thought whatever made that noise was about to kill me. I couldn't turn around. It's not like I was frozen. It's not like I couldn't move. It's just that I didn't. The one thing I was gonna keep was not seeing what that looked like. The thing that was gonna kill me. Like that was the one peaceful thing I could think of at the time. Like I don't want to see it coming. I don't want to know it's coming. I don't want to know what it looks like. It's just I hope it's quick. That's the only thing you're thinking of. It's not, hey, let me grab my camera. Now, I was, 14 when this happened, so there was no camera. There was no cell phones and things like that. But even if I had had one, I would have been it would have been impossible for me to get a shot of something like that. And even those at the distance, a lot of people like to say, well, they're all blurry. All these pictures are blurry. Well, you've got to understand the stress level that people are in those situations. It's not like you're just like, okay, don't move, and click. It's not like that. These people are moving. They're probably shaking. And if you shake your cell phone and take a picture, try it. Shake your hand like you're just shivering with adrenaline, and try to get a good clear picture. The fact that they were able to get any picture, I think, is incredible. So it's all a matter of semantics, I guess, or perspectives. But these these things are enormous. This is not a small little thing. It's not like you're going to see a hairy version of your Uncle Phil or something. It's going to be a monster. It's going to look like a monster. And I've not seen one, but just seeing those artist depictions, hearing firsthand reports from people that have had these experiences, it's like, yeah, I totally get it. I only heard one right behind me, and it was all I could do not to just poop myself, literally. So crazy, but that's kind of stuff that happens, ladies and gentlemen. There's lots of criticism. There's a lot of criticism coming from the peanut gallery. All these people, if it was me, I would have, you fill in the blank. I would have what? Yeah. It's all brave and cool when you're sitting in your living room or surfing the web. It's like, yeah, you can be brave and strong and, capable of far better decision making. But when you're in that position, when you're in that state, the only thing you're thinking of, it was my experience, and I assume it's everyone else's, is, am I going to live through this? Is this the last moment of my life, or am I going to live through this? So, you can't expect people to be making these pristine decisions in those states, those adrenalized states. So, just my 2 cents for what it's worth, but a lot of people criticize these things, but they don't understand. And it's impossible to understand. I mean, what I always say is, look at the room you're in. Look at the floor to the ceiling. That's, in most houses, that's about 8 feet. Now, you could be looking at something that big and about 5 feet wide at the shoulders, or it could be bigger. It could be another 2 feet bigger, or even bigger than that. So how are you, and it's looking at you, and it's not happy to see you. It's not smiling. It's not giving you the wink or something. It's looking like it's pissed. So you got that big of a being standing there looking at you. It's like you're not gonna do much anything except hope to God that you get to continue living. So again, yep. Yeah, the width is so scary. Yeah, farm, I think so too. I really do. Because that just gives you it's hard to conceptualize 5 feet wide, but that's like, I don't even know if you can fit it in the frame, but that's huge. And that's all muscle. So now in many cases I'm preaching to the choir, because most of the listeners of this show, and most of the Bigfoot Odyssey listeners and other people that are coming in are pretty well versed in all of this. But I think it's really crappy when people on the outside are looking in and try to critique what happened, like they would have handled it so much better, because I just don't think people have a concept of what that would be like. And the Dogman even less so, because I think the Dogman is every bit, if not more, ferocious looking. Most witnesses describe it as looking like a werewolf from the movies, and like the underworld werewolf. And those are terrifying. My God, 6, 7, 8 feet of that looking at you, and really looking pissed. Yeah. So it's a whole different world when you're in those situations. And I only have one experience to draw on, but it was enough for me. And I saw nothing. I just heard it and felt the rumbling of it. It was just terrible. It was terrifying. So, all right. Whoops, I didn't mean to pull that one down. I did though. Okay, so we got some ghostly stuff coming up here that I want to touch base with a little bit. There's a video I want to just see. No, I don't think I can use that because that's copyrighted. So I won't be able to. No, I'm not even going to touch the article if I can't show you the video. It hardly is worth discussing without being able to share it with you. This one's different. Okay, I'm going to cover this one. This is another weird, odd one, and I'm going to put it on the screen for you guys. Again, from animalien.com, this one is bizarre human-like figure filmed above the skies of Burbank. Now, again, there's a lot to say about these kind of things, and a lot of maybe false positives, so to speak, and we'll get into that in a little moment here. But it says bizarre video footage shows a vaguely humanoid shape floating over Burbank across the sky. The anomalous object reported by Pablo Morales earlier this month on a particularly thunderous day does not seem to be an aircraft. Morales, who at the time was with his family, seemed to be so overwhelmed by what he saw that he could even be heard in the video suggesting that the spectacle had divine meaning. Is that Jesus Christ? Pablo can be heard saying, "Please, oh Father God." After exclaiming to his mother that a man is floating in the sky, she asks if he's sure, and Morales says he's convinced of it. The oddity eventually floats behind a tree and then apparently begins to descend to the ground. Meanwhile, skeptics have stated that the object is more likely to be a unique balloon, or maybe a bunch of balloons that has escaped its moorings and was blown by the wind through the sky. But it's hard to know for sure what it could be without clearer footage. What do you think it could be? Well, let's have a look. I'm going to start playing it, but I'm going to have to mute it. I don't want to step all over somebody's rights, but I just want to examine it. It's very, very grainy. Let's blow it up here. Oh, there it is. Yep. There's the figure. Huh. Well, it's definitely a humanoid shape for sure. But it's not really articulated at all. In fact, it's every frame of it, it's in the same position. No, he lost it. Where'd it go? But so here's the thing. Now, there's a lot of kits out there to dress up drones and do things like that. There it is again. But it's not moving. And to me, that's the biggest red flag on a video like this is it's not actually moving. It's just in one position, one fixed position, and it's being manipulated. I mean, it looks pretty bizarre, right? It does look pretty bizarre, but it's not changing position at all. It is just in the same position throughout that whole clip. So what you're looking at is most likely some kind of hoax or some kind of gimmick. It might not even be an intentional gimmick. I mean, you can buy kits like drone kits that look like Superman. You can buy them that look like witches on their broom. I mean, there's plenty of things out there that will that will do these kind of things. It's got to be pretty spectacular to not know what it is and to see it. But I think I would always jump to it's something mundane and normal. It's probably not paranormal. And I'm not taking anything away from this guy for, having a religious moment with it. I think that some people are just so desperately looking for a sign. And so that's not a bad thing in and of itself. But, I think if you see a humanoid shape it's not moving, it's not waving as it goes, then it's probably not alive. But that's just my 2 cents for whatever that is worth. And it depends on who you talk to. So, I thought that no, this one's from the 4th. I don't know if I did this one or not. Yeah, I did. I did that one already before. I'm just looking at some other things. All right, we're going to move into that article of some unexplained photos. And this is coming from tradingdraft.com. And I'm not sure about this website. I've never seen this website before. But some of these images I am familiar with, and I have seen them. And they are peculiar. They're real peculiar. And I don't know. Some of them are just set up images, I'm sure. But we'll get into that as we go through them. Let's go. I'll put it on full screen. It says unusual photos that can't be explained by science. And that's a bold statement to make. Not that science can explain everything or even, sometimes much anything. But there are some weird images. I've seen this one before. We'll get into more of those descriptions. This one is an apparition apparently recorded. This one, I just think there's a dog trainer nearby. That's nothing out of the world. This is coming from a Charlie Chaplin film where it looks like the woman's on a cell phone, and it's often used to allegedly speak to time travel. And I don't think so. But anyway, let's get into this. It says the world is a strange place when we think about it. We have creatures that live miles underwater while others soar through the sky and everything in between. Some animals are faster than we could ever imagine, while others only make it a few feet each day before they need to stop and rest again. I think that's me. That might be my description. How did we end up with so many strange things on the planet we call home? Being surrounded by so many unusual things means that most of us have had a moment or two when we have to do a double take. Did we really just see what we think we did, or did our eyes play tricks on us? Sometimes things are so unbelievable that we have to take a photo of it to prove to everyone else we're telling the truth. However, that's not always enough to help explain what's happening at the moment in time. We're starting to think that it might be best not to ask questions. So this one's one of those people out of time things. And again, the red circle guy. Let's read the background in this. Have you ever looked through history books and spotted something out of place? Well, this is one of those times. The picture was taken in Canada to commemorate the Gold Bridge opening. However, someone stood out in the crowd more than others. And it says the man in question is wearing a printed T-shirt and sunglasses and is even carrying a small camera. And none of these things had been invented at the time. Many people soon thought that they were looking at an accidental picture of a time traveler. Well, they had sunglasses. They had that. That's been around since, my God, they called them smoke glasses back in the early in the 1800s. I mean, they've been around for a long time, and this is definitely not older than the 1800s. This is in the 20th century for sure. Judging by these cars, it's in about the 40s, 50s, somewhere in there. I don't remember the time frame of it, but it is peculiar. He's dressing obviously very different in the fashion of the time, and it does look more like a modern, college student from the 90s maybe. I don't know, but I don't know, it is strange. What do you guys think? Do you think this could be a time traveler that was captured? You have to let me know. Let me know what you think. I think it's probably just a strange fashion for the day. I don't know. All right, so let's go to the next one. This one says, no. This has to do with the Black Knight satellite. But of course, there are thousands of satellites orbiting the planet. However, there is one that's confused people for years. The Black Knight. It's believed that the unusual satellite could be around 13,000 years old, and no one has ever claimed ownership. Not only does it orbit our planet, but it's even thought to transmit signals down to Earth. This has led some people to believe that the Black Knight is actually a satellite from an alien race watching the planet. Now, here's the thing that I don't know what to make of it. And it's, how do you put an age on something that we've not studied? It's believed to be 13,000 years old. Now, I know there's some old reports. Apparently, some early astronomers caught sight of this as well back in the day, but this is, I don't know about 13,000 years. How do you throw that number on it without examining it, without having a look at it? Why don't they try to capture it then? I mean, they capture satellites all the time. Why wouldn't they want to capture this one? Because if it is indeed alien, it's going to have a lot of alien technology. And we know how our governments love to get some alien technology. So I don't know. I think that could be as old as 13,000 years old. That's a real big stretch, because there's no means by which to substantiate that claim at all. So I don't know what to make of that, but let's continue on. This is these are just some photo ones, and these have been around for a while. It's hard to know for sure. The glitchy stuff happens, and this could certainly be it, but it could also just be some kind of photoshopping or other manipulation, because we don't have the original. So it says, an additional hand. This is more than a photo of four boys having a fun together. It's an image that must be looked at carefully if you want to find what has got people so spooked over the years. Yes, it's the additional thumb that's coming out from the boy on the far right of the group. So this thumb right here. So his arm is actually coming around the neck, doing the rock and roll signs. And his arm is here, and his arm's here. His other arm is over his shoulder. His two arms, there's one at his side and one, where is it? One is, I don't know, but that's not his. I don't know. There's something that doesn't make sense. Phantom thumb, a group of four kids posing for a picture. However, there appears to be a mysterious thumb next to the kid in the back on the right. What does that mean? That does not seem to align with anyone's body. It's true. Now, it could just be a short kid. Could be someone that just got choked out of the frame. This kid looks obnoxious enough to do it, so you're not in this picture. I mean, it could be. You gotta look at that kid and look at his face. He's like, yeah, that kid's pulled some shenanigans. But it is weird. I don't have an explanation for it. This is the I don't know, is this the babushka lady from the Kennedy assassination? John F. Kennedy's assassination shook the world in 1963. The former president's passing was investigated from every angle. It was during these investigations that the team noticed a strange lady in many of the shots. There she is. And I don't know if this is the same woman or not. Looks like it could be, I guess. The FBI searched for the woman and her identity, and photos were never recovered. She was quickly nicknamed the Babushka Lady, and officials wanted to track her down, as she was pretty close to it all. There was even video footage of her after the shot was fired, but no one was ever found. The lady's mysterious identity has been something that's confused investigators for years. Now, I've heard some of the controversy, and I've heard this mentioned, but I think I've forgotten whatever her significance was in the whole chain of events. But I think something to do with the temperature that day. She was really overdressed for it. I don't know. She could be just shy. This is a great one. I think this may very well depict a ghostly photograph. We'll get into this. It's one woman appears to be completely lost in her thoughts. At church, someone spotted the lady and decided to take a photo, and it wasn't until the picture was developed that they spotted a strange figure lurking behind the woman. I don't think that's accurate, though. I think it was her husband that took the photo, and he says there was nobody there. I don't think it was just someone took a picture. This is the wife, and I think it's her husband that's taking the photo. They were tourists, and this was a church somewhere. I don't remember where, but this article is pretty vague about it too. But both the woman and her photographer believed that they were alone. However, the priest had some news. They said that it was actually the ghost of a healer who is known to hang around the church and help those in need. Kind of looks like an alien healer, doesn't it? I'm not sure what we're looking at here, but is that an eye or is that a mouth or what the hell's going on here? I don't know. And I'm not trying to be cheeky. I really don't know. But I do find the light to be pretty incredible. It's obviously all in white, but there is a back reflected light. So the light seems to be coming in, I guess, pretty much overhead is what it looks like by the shadows. It's maybe a little back and to behind them and above, but there is a reflected light on this bench that she doesn't have on this bench. And I don't think that the position of the light is such that it would only illuminate this one and this one. So this may very well be a luminescent figure. But what it is, I don't know. Is it a former human? Is it something else? I don't know. Is it angelic? I don't know. This one is pretty cool. This looks like a long exposure, but I think it's actually the light phenomena that's depicted in Norway. Norway is pretty used to the lights in the sky thanks to the excellent views of the northern lights that can be found across the nation. However, it's not the famous lights that have some people talking. It's the Husdalen lights. Hestdalen lights. Sorry, I'm probably pronouncing the hell out of that. And not good either. But since the early 1940s, Hexopolis reports Norway's Hestdalen Valley has been home to beams of unexplained light. Now, I believe that this is actually being conducted. The investigations of these lights are actually being conducted by a university, which I think is really cool because these are somewhat of a paranormal event, or at least an odd natural event that nobody can explain. So it is being researched by a university, as I understand it. And that to me is exciting because maybe they'll be able to figure out what the hell's going on. Because these lights they're not unique to Norway. There are ghost lights seen all over the place, in the mountains and wildlands and in the sky, along trails. People see these orbs of light through woodlands. So I don't know that they're one and the same, but they may be a relation to them. There might be some factors that are significant to both of them and they both share. So if you understand one, or at least start to understand one, maybe you'll get some information that'll help to apply towards all the other ones. The ghost lights are, I mean, that's a story as old as time. The old conductor on the train line walks the tracks carrying his lantern after the big crash. You know, it's been going on forever that these stories have been out there. So this one I don't think is anything at all. We'll talk about it in a second, but it says the creature of legends. The ape supposedly living in the woods. That's right, we're talking about Bigfoot. The creature has long been the center of discussion, many of which have been backed up with a handful of grainy photos. This picture is from Big Otter in West Virginia and only helped to stir the rumors. There's the Bigfoot, allegedly. There it is again. The image appears to show an ape-like creature walking into the woods, but could it really be Bigfoot? Some think it's a shadow or a tall person, while others are convinced that Bigfoot has been snapped again. No, it's a cutout. This is one of the most popular cutout poses there is. It's on the sign it's on the sign right over there. It's pretty much the same pose. You know, it's I don't think that's fantastic, but this is the cutout that's everywhere. It's the very same one. So I think that somebody just put a cutout here by the woods, got a picture of it and said, hey, I've got Bigfoot. So I don't think that that's spectacular at all. Many of you that are familiar with those cutouts, I'm sure you'll agree that is the pose. That's the one that you buy. It's about 8 feet tall and made from plywood or metal or something, but it's very, very common. It's everywhere. So, and this is exactly the same pose. So this is what this is. That's not unexplained at all. Now this is an old one, but I think it's really profound. And there's more to just a picture of a husband and his wife. It's supposed to be just a snapshot of the woman. That was until they developed the photo and realized that someone else was actually lurking behind them the entire time. And it says the people there said that no one else was around. However, they recognized the man in the shot. Apparently, he looked exactly like the woman's husband, who had lost his life 13 years before the photo was taken. Now, this is the picture of the husband. That obviously looks very much similar. The interesting part is that this woman was in a nursing home at the time of this photo, and her family was visiting her and took a photo of her. And this guy was not supposedly standing there, according to the family. There was nobody behind her. It was just a picture of her, you know, right there in the nursing home. They were having, a visit, and that's how I understand this photo. But I think it's very possible. There's no mystery in the fact that there's many people believe that dead husbands and wives, whichever one dies first, the other one may linger and wait and just be around to cross over. So I think that that's beautiful. And I really hope that this is legit because I think it's a beautiful gesture. Oh, here's another one. This one's kind of been famous for a while. It's been around for a while. Something in the water. We're not sure what would have been brave enough, who would have been brave enough to take this photo before running for our lives. Thankfully, Robert Surek was prepared to capture the moment before he fled. The French photographer was in Australia, specifically Queensland, in 1964 when he spotted this shape in the water. And it looks absolutely horrifying. Resembling an eel or a tadpole, the creature is estimated to measure a total of 80 feet long. The eel/tadpole-like creature measured in at a staggering 80 feet long, and it appears to be casually skimming through the water. Known eels never get anywhere near this size, and no one has ever discovered what came to the surface that day. You know, I was really mystified by this for a long time, because it really, it looks like a legitimate photo. And as far as I understand it, there's no known hoaxing going on here, that this image was actually captured. But I'll tell you what finally gave me a clue as to what it might be. And my objective is not to try to debunk every one of these, but I think that when you have, possibilities, you have to put them out there because, you got to have critical thinking in any of this. Otherwise, if everything's real, what's the use? So what I did see was some footage of sardine schools. and they make these huge shapes in the water. Now, I don't know if sardines are indigenous to the Australian oceans or not, but I'm sure there may be other type of fish that would utilize this same schooling behavior. That I don't think, I think that it's probably just a massive school of some small-sized fish. Again, speculation, but the only time I've ever seen anything photographed in the water that resembled this was when I saw schools of sardines photographed. Photoed. Yeah, I reinvent the language all the time here, ladies and gentlemen, so get used to it. This one's the battle over LA. 1940s to 50s saw a rapid increase in the number of UFO sightings, while some were put down to other causes. There's one that is hard to ignore. An object appeared in the sky and was quickly photographed. And there's the object. And this is a lot of anti-aircraft fire and chaff. There's another image of it. Well, it does. I've heard people speculate that it was just the convergence of all these spotlights that created the illusion of a saucer in there. But, I mean, it could be, I guess, but there's some pretty defined edges here, which I would find kind of unique. I would find a little unique, but maybe I'm wrong. So, local newspapers were overwhelmed with the results. The attention from all the spotlights and the sightings led many people to come to the conclusion that we were looking at a picture of a real-life UFO above the city. Yeah, I think it was coined the Battle of L.A., if I'm remembering right. Very, very interesting. God, a lot of time has gone by. I'm just going through it here, ladies and gentlemen. This one I'm really excited to talk about because I think that's cool. Now, whether you believe there was a UFO over L.A. or not, I can tell you that they dumped a hell of a lot of artillery in the air and anti-aircraft fire because they saw something. I don't believe these trained service members would have been fooled by their own spotlights. I don't buy that personally. I think that there was something there, and they probably shot at it, but it obviously didn't come down. So and probably just shot away like they do. But I don't buy that a bunch of trained military anti-aircraft personnel wouldn't recognize the convergence of searchlights and would start opening fire on it. That to me just doesn't wash. Not that accidents or errors couldn't have been made, but I don't know. They're all zoomed in on that same object, every one of those lights. So they obviously were all tracking something there. So I think the conversion of the spotlights is actually more proof rather than the cause, because why would they be there? Why would they all be pointing at that same spot? So that was the target that was called in, and they all zoomed their spotlights on it, and sure enough, they opened fire. So hey, there's something in our sky, shoot! Which is that's some questionable math there, but people were high strung. They still are, as you can see from the news and other current events. But anyway, this one I'm really kind of excited about. I had not seen this one before. I browsed through this a little bit before the show, and this is really bizarre. It's just the finger. It can often. I'm gonna actually look into this some more because I'm absolutely really interested in whatever this may be. It can often be tough to tell the scale of something until you see it next to something else. This finger has helpfully been placed next to a banknote, so you can see just how large it really is. And there it is. I assume that's going to be on scale with our dollar bill, roughly in there. And it says, amazingly, the mummified finger measures at a whopping 15 inches long. It was allegedly uncovered by a gravedigger back in 1985. If the finger did belong to a person, then they would have to have at least been 12 feet tall. There's never been a known species of humans that tall. Maybe not human, but what if it's a giant? That's huge. That is really huge. If this is a dollar bill size, and I'm assuming it is, it looks like I can't make out the country of origin on it, but I'm not familiar with it anyway. I'm not a notifilist necessarily, but that finger is huge, and it's mummified. You can see the nail. You can see the cuticles, the knuckles. It is a rather pronounced nail, but is it a humanoid finger? I guess it looks like it to me. There's the metatarsals, so the core there. I don't know. It could be a hoax, maybe. I really don't know. But whatever this is, I'm really curious about it. And I'm going to be doing some research on this to see if I can uncover more of this story, because a 15-inch finger, I would think. I mean, you may be looking at the only actual evidence of a giant, the race of giants. Now, the race of giants is not new to this world. Every culture has their legends and lore and ancient stories of giants. The Bible has got many having to do with the giants and their involvement in the world. So it doesn't surprise me that there could have been giants. But I think it's very interesting. I think it's very, very interesting. So I don't know. You guys be the judge, but I think this could be some of the best evidence yet in our modern era of evidence of ancient giants. And then there's the actual reports of still remaining giants, which is another deal. So this one, of course, is very famous. It was actually examined by Kodak and proven to be not a hoax. But what is it? I don't know. It's called the Spaceman photo. And apparently there's a lot of controversy surrounding this one and has been for decades. It can be easy to think there's nothing wrong with the photo of a girl in the field. The strange part came when the girl's dad confessed there was no one else in the area at the time. This raised questions about who was standing behind her at the time of the picture. The snap was taken back in 1964 and quickly caused a stir. The fact it appears the figure is wearing a spacesuit promptly led many to refer to the picture as the Solway Firth spaceman. And it has been, the negatives and all the photos were examined by Kodak, so it's not just some darkroom trickery. There's certified as real. The photo is real. It really did depict this. But what is this? I don't know. Now, I've heard lots of speculation, lots of theories, and I'm not really convinced on any of them. I just don't know. Could be a spaceman, I guess. Maybe it's a transdimensional being. I don't know. That kind of stuff is just bizarre. But I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I need the loo again. One more time. I guess we're doing it on the half hours tonight. So, again, please be patient with me. I'm flying solo here, so I'm going to give you guys another station break, another show break. So don't go away, and I'll be back in just a couple minutes after I've used the facilities. So I'll be right back.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart.
gentlemen, back at it. I'm much better now again. So we got that going for us. I just saw this in the chat when I came back. Cameron says, I saw this finger earlier today. It's massive. I saw measurements. 'Twas a good video. 'Twas. And then later he says, giant bones have been found in mounds throughout the world for a long time, and we have all seen stuff about it. And I didn't think about it a lot until last night. Just saw the right video, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty serendipitous. Yeah, that's I have not seen the video of the finger, but I'll be looking because I want to dig up more about that. Again, the legends persist that the Smithsonian swept in and have been gobbling up these bones and doing whatever with them. I don't know. Speculation they're sitting in a dusty basement somewhere, maybe, but could be shredded, could have been destroyed because they don't want that getting out for some reason. I don't know why. It boggles my mind why, because the whole notion of giants it's not alien to any of us. Excuse me. If you have a background in religion, then you've probably got stories of giants in there, or folklore, or any number of different cultural storytelling. It's just giants are a part of the culture of our world. They always have been. So why do they think that suddenly now we have to keep this stuff a secret? Well, I don't know. Again, is it have something to do with future testing or development? I don't know. I don't know if anybody back in the days when they first started taking the bones and hiding them away, back in the 1800s, when bones were discovered, they were presumed to sweep in and take them out, and they would never be seen or heard from again. They were just gone, never returned, nothing. So could they have had the foresight to know that someday we would be able to test those tissues and potentially find genetic markers to make people bigger? Like, that's what we need, is bigger people, right? We need to have more resources. But I don't know. It's very strange, very, very peculiar. Could be an Anunnaki finger for all we know. My God, if it was mummified, then could it have been, ceremoniously mummified in a reverent way? Because they are, of course, believed by many to be the forerunners and the creators potentially of the human species. If you subscribe to that whole ideology, it's hard to know, but those ideas are out there, ladies and gentlemen. So what is it? I don't know. But the Anunnaki were allegedly very, very large people. They were supposed to be 10 or 12 feet tall, very huge. We're pretty dinky by comparison. And the earlier people were even much dinkier. I mean, we're finally growing a little bit. Early people, 5 foot was an average even 100 years ago. And now we're getting to the near 6 foot average. Where will we end up? I don't know. But we're definitely growing. Anyway, really cool. Thank you, Cameron, for your thoughts on that. Paranormal Portal, of the paranormal events shown in that break, the least talk about is that car crashing into nothing. Yeah, it's one of those two, though, that I don't think would be real hard for anybody to fake with editing software, because you just need a shot of the road before and then during and then after. So you could mask out another vehicle pretty easily and make it look pretty convincing. Is that what happened there? I don't know. I just found really cool videos. I thought they were fun and interesting, so I put them in that break. But yeah, I don't know. It is tough to find much information about it, though. But I would suspect it's most likely just somebody compiled it on a computer and put it out there. And they're very interesting. There's several versions of those out there, but again, it's not hard to remove things from a scene if you mask them and you have before, after, and during shots. You can composite it all together and make it look like it's just a vehicle crashing into nothing. Now, I don't know. I'd like to believe it was real, but I don't have any explanation for what it hit. I don't know. If it is real, that's really freaky. And again, it's possible it is, but I don't know. I just don't know, ladies and gentlemen, but we are down to basically the last half hour of the show. It's gone really quick. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I, of course, always enjoy talking to you guys about the paranormal. This is the stuff I love. I'm going to put this one up because this is, I got to look though. I got to see who's got this link. So let me do this and then mute it quick so I don't, oh, it is muted. No, I can't do that. It's a clip company that owns it. So I don't want to step on that because there's a lot of Sue happy people out here on YouTube. So I don't want to cross that bridge. It's just too dangerous nowadays to use stuff that you don't own. But anyway, that's really interesting, and I hope you guys are enjoying the journey tonight as we go through all these strange and weird stories. This is the stuff I love, though. This is the cool stuff. Nobody's calling in, so much, Jake. Nobody's calling in. But the number is 720-923-0500. Or, yeah, 0500. Yep. Sorry. I'm just looking at the chat here to see if I'm missing anything. You guys doing what? What are you guys thinking? Give me some love. Give me some feedback here of the paranormal events. Yeah, I already read that. Okay. Yeah, if you're going to make a comment for me, best do the @Paranormal Portal because it gives it that orange bracket or the orange frame around it. And then I'm more likely to see it. It's just tough, especially when I'm doing this solo. It's hard to see all of the things that are going on. I got 3 full monitors of fun right here in front of me, and about a gajillion tabs open. So it's always an adventure. I just like that, Farm. Exactly. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that, brother. I hope you guys like this. You know, I love talking about a lot of different things. All right, so I'm going to continue here. We got I did find a dogman encounter, and it's not from very long ago, but it's when is it? 4 months ago. 4 months ago. It says back about 20 years ago, I was visiting my great uncle in the region around Kerrville, Texas. At the time, he was living in his first house in the area before he moved to a retirement community near a small set of trees. The trees were beautiful, really, all as is the hill country. But I was staying with him and my great aunt for about a week when we went out for an evening to walk his dachshund, as we tended to do in the evenings in general. The walk was uneventful as the sun set, just a normal evening, completed with the calls of doves and a lot of other different wildlife. And the dog was just having a great time. Then suddenly, everything went deafeningly silent. We all just froze, as did the dog as well. I remember having a sense of unease and a lot of fear that I could not quite explain. And the dog was looking directly in a specific part of the streetlight, near a streetlight rather, and my eyes turned to where the dog was looking. And there was a creature loping through there. Kind of looked like a dog-like thing, about the size of a large black lab or dachshund hybrid. A lab dachshund hybrid, wow. Save that on the creature's neck, there was the head about the size of a bear. And the thing was loping up and down in a way that fitted that kind of build. It just was kind of hypnotic in a sense. And I was really more terrified than I've ever been with anything else I've ever seen. It gave me a real understanding of Lovecraft's idea that things that just look fundamentally wrong are really terrifying precisely because the proportions just don't fit. The thing was powerfully built too. The upper limbs in particular were stout, and the dog remained frozen for another few minutes before we moved back to our house. I'm not sure exactly what it was, or if it was even a dog man, but I'm convinced that something like that could exist. The sudden silence that just lasted for several minutes, and after it left, the dog was just frozen without even growling or barking, and that still sends chills in my spine when I think about it. As my only encounter with something like a cryptid, it remains something very vivid in my mind, not least because I know how dogs move, and I know what wolves would move like, and whatever that was, it was no natural thing. that made sense to me. Yeah, that's horribly creepy. Wow. That's the hard part. What do you do with that, you know? So you witness that. What do you do with it? Well, I guess you go and try to find a place to write it down. Maybe somebody will appreciate it. I mean, we do. I love these kind of encounters because every encounter teaches us something more. And in this case, it's a really, I've heard of the dogmen with the oversized heads. That's really peculiar. But what this person's explaining doesn't really sound like the dogman that I've become familiar with in my mind, as is explained to look like a werewolf. I don't know, from the movies. What this person is describing isn't really the same thing, but it's something. They saw something they can't explain. What is it? Maybe it's a juvenile. Maybe it's a smaller dogman. Maybe it's a little one between a lab and a dachshund. I don't know, about the size of a lab, but and it sounds really awkward. Whatever it was doesn't sound real graceful. So maybe it really was a younger one. If you ever watch, you watch a full-grown German Shepherd move, and they're just fluid. Any full-grown dog is just fluid and dynamic and precise in their motions. They screw up every once in a while, but for the most part, they're very graceful animals. But when you look at like a puppy, they're not. They're clumsy. They're always tripping over themselves. Usually their feet are way too big for their little bodies to move them right. And so they have all these troubles and stuff, and everything seems awkward. When they run, they're just kind of floppy, because they just don't have that concert of motion going that the adult animals get. And so, I don't know, maybe that's what this person witnessed, was a younger version, some, oversized head, much like the oversized paws. When you look at a little puppy, their head is oversized as well for their little bodies. And it's like they just kind of grow in different parts at different spurts. So maybe that's what this person saw. I mean, that's plausible. I mean, they got to start out somewhere, right? Unless they were, grown in some lab, which has been claimed as well. I don't know what to make of that, but it's hard to know what people see out there. And I guess the part that always shocks me is the wild variety of things that people are seeing. The incredible variety of stuff. It's bipedal, it's quadrupedal, it's sometimes insect-like, and all these different variations of things. They're small, tiny, and then they're giant. And there's this whole catalog of things that allegedly exist around us that we're just not really familiar with at all. And it kind of makes me really believe in the idea that there's more than one dimension being represented in these experiences. That it's not just they're hidden in the woods and nobody finds them. I think there's got to be more to it. There's got to be someplace these things go that we don't. I mean, otherwise, where would they all hide? Well, it's not like we're really adept at the wilderness by natural means. People that are hunting and fishing all the time, well, they're still only hunting or fishing, weekends, 2 days out of 7 at the most. And if they got a family, it might be 1 day out of 7, and then even then, maybe only a few hours that one day. It's not like people are living out in these spaces. So there is a lot of space, and there is a lot of stuff in our wild places that we just don't know much about. There's a lot of areas that people have probably never set foot. And there's probably a lot of areas like that because we tend to stick with the beaten path most often. People aren't very enthusiastic about breaking through brush. Hell yeah, you're going to take the path. You're not going to bust through thistles and thickets and scrub and brushes and bushes and tangles and weeds. You're going to hit the path because that's how you can get to one place to another. And so there's a lot, even alongside of our established paths, there's all this area that most times people don't go. They may not even really look up from the path in many cases. They're just kind of in their zone, in their thing, doing whatever with their earbuds in, rocking some music, not even appreciating the wilderness around them. So I think that we're not very good observers. First of all, we're not very adept at being in the wild places. We rely on other people to create trails for us most often. Then we can go enjoy the trails. So we kind of get out there, but there's probably only a very, very small percentage of our population that really gets out there. And it would be single digits at that, if not less. So when you think of all of the area there is to cover in North America alone, and then you look at a small percentage of the population actually getting out to these areas that aren't often visited, and some are never visited. So there could be a lot out there. I grant you that, but the fact that they show up on our doorsteps so often and are being reported in along those paths, in our cities and in our rural communities and stuff, it just leads me to believe that maybe they are just out in those wild places for the most part, but maybe they're somewhere else too. Maybe there's a whole other deal going on there. And as much as I'm loath to admit it, you can't dismiss the idea that some people have witnessed behavior from these beings that defies our idea of reality. And it's hard to know what to do with that. And I'm guilty of that as well. I don't know what to do with it. But maybe there is portals, as I've discussed before. Maybe there are these natural gateways that appear and disappear between realms. And maybe these Bigfoot and other wild creatures, other cryptid creatures know about them. Maybe they're intelligent enough to know. And they know when they're coming and when they're going and where they go. Maybe they can navigate them just like we do a subway. I mean, if you took someone that never seen a city and brought them to a city and then showed them the subway, it looked like magic. It looked like, well, how do you know all this stuff? Well, this is our world. We know our world. We've lived in it. We've adapted to it. We know, the sounds of things when everything's okay, and we know the sounds of things when it's not. We know when things are flowing naturally and everything's peaceful, and we know when things are a little sideways. I mean, we just get those vibes for our surroundings. So maybe there's a different kind of subway in this world. Maybe it's more interdimensional. Maybe there's these tubes and tunnels, and maybe those tunnels and tubes account for some of the missing 411 stuff that hunters just end up blundering into. They didn't know they were there, and then they get lost. And they end up, 4 mountain ranges over through the most impossible terrain that they couldn't have possibly traversed. But they end up in some other place where their body is found. There's a lot of factors that go along with that. Obviously, the missing 411 thing as a whole could be a whole host of reasons for all the strangeness, but maybe some of that is just these weird openings and closings. We've covered on the show these stories of people going through the wilderness and finding themselves in some place completely different, taking 2 steps and suddenly everything in the world has changed. It can be a different time of day. It can suddenly be nighttime when it was midday, just a couple steps earlier. And, and then they back out and they're back in the day. There's all kinds of those stories out there. And I realize some of those could be creative. They could just be creative writing. But what if they're not? What if these people are really witnessing these gateways, these portals, these vortices? And if they are traversing to a different part of our world or another world, I mean, who knows? You get into the multiverse ideas and dimensional ideas and quantum physics and stuff, and it's all suddenly very plausible. But it'll stretch your idea of reality in a hurry. And most of us, myself included, I have a real hard time going there. But I'm trying to make sense of it because all of these things I've heard throughout doing this show, I can't explain. And I can't believe that every one of those is a lie. Maybe a lot of them are, but what if they're not? And I've always said doing this show, of all the stories I've covered for the last 5 years, of all the stories that I've covered doing this show, if only 1% of those stories are actually true and factual, then that still represents something absolutely amazing going on in our world. And, that's saying a lot. And I think more than 1% are, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, even if 1/10 of 1% of the stories I've covered are factual and real, that's still representing something incredible. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess the only thing is you got to have an open mind for possibilities. I know we like to know it all. We like to know our world. We like to think that, it's understood because there's a security in understanding it. There's a security in understanding the way our world works. And when we see things that don't fall into that, all of a sudden everything changes. Every building block of our understanding of reality just shifted. And you have to accept that there's other possibilities out there. And it's tough to get to there. It's tough to get there. It took me a long time. When I started doing this show, I knew Bigfoot was a ape-like creature, probably a hominid, just smart enough to avoid us. And now I still think it probably is, but I think that maybe they know a lot more than we do. I still can't get my head around the idea that they open and close portals. I'll just be upfront about that. I really can't. I don't know how to go there in my mind. I'm trying. I try to keep an open mind, but that's tough for me. But since hearing these stories of people stumbling into places where all of a sudden everything changed, what if that's what Bigfoot is utilizing? What if that's their subway? They know this. They know where these openings are and where they aren't, and they know when they'll open and when they'll close, just like people know their bus schedule. What if that is possible? Then it becomes a little more understandable. Then it becomes a little easier for me personally to digest. And so if that's possible, then there's a lot changed. Our minds are designed are designed to automate things that we know by repeating observation, and sometimes that program misses new info. Yeah, for sure. And there's also that's a good point. I mean, we are programmed in a paradigm. Our paradigm is just basically our understanding of things. So when that changes, how do we accept it? How do we change with it? And that's the challenge. That's the challenge of all of this. And I don't know. I wish I knew, because it would make my own adjustment into this stuff. But I'll tell you what, even though it's hard for me to wrap my head around, I love it. I love the challenge of conceptualizing this. I love the challenge of thinking about these things, because I love the idea that our world is still kind of magical, that it's mysterious, and there's lots to learn and discover. I really do love that, because I don't want to live in a world that it's all mapped. I don't want to live in a world where there's no journeys left to take, because they're all been taken. Everything's categorized and labeled and put away in its space. That to me is not a fun place. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's just that I'm idealistic about it, but I still have trouble with it. but I'm still I am idealistic about it. So I was going to play you guys this file that Wes sent me about his Dogman episode that he's going to do, or has done. I guess I wasn't clear. We were having a whole bunch of discussions, but let me get to that quick. Just give me a second, because we were in the last 10 minutes of the show here. So I want to close the show with this, because I think it's pretty awesome. But I just got to find out where I put it. My filing system, as you can imagine, is pretty dynamic. I, however, am not. So you can see the problems I have. Is it here? No, it should be. Maybe it's in here. Hold on. I'm still looking. I got to expand Windows. I just wrapped up my part of a project with the Irish Bigfoot Research Organization, doing narration for their new documentary. And that's been an amazing journey, a wonderful experience. And I'm really excited that will be coming out. It will be coming out in December. And it probably will be released on Amazon Prime. I am the narrator through the whole thing, so it was a real honor, and I'm really thrilled. There's a few more projects that we have to do for that whole project, but it's just a really exciting thing. So keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open for announcements about that. It's called Walking with the Wild Man 2. And really cool. But here's the file sent to us by our very own Wes Germer of Sasquatch Chronicles. I'm going to open it with this. All right. Let's check it out.
On December 7th, 1941, most Americans were enjoying their day, oblivious to what was going on in the world. Hitler and his Nazi thugs were Europe's problem.
important bulletin from the United Press. Flash, Washington. The White House announces Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor.
The Japanese had celebrated this attack. It was victory. There was no way America would enter the war now. The only man who did not celebrate was the one who planned the attack on Pearl Harbor. Admiral Yamamoto would write later in his diary, "I fear all that we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve." These prophetic words would come back to haunt him.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
America had officially joined the war. If you shoot at us, we'll shoot you back. The United States, along with its allies, were about to give Nazi Germany, the Empire of Japan, and Italy not the beating they needed, but the one they deserved. From September 1940 to May 1941, Hitler ordered relentless nighttime bombing raids against London and other British cities. The plan was to demoralize the British people. Hitler could not have been more wrong. In 1943, the Royal Air Force would return the favor. They began their own nighttime bombing campaign against German cities, the likes of which had never been seen before. Hitler's first mistake was underestimating the United Kingdom's Royal Air Force. Hitler's second mistake was sending his precious German Luftwaffe up against the Royal Air Force. Blinded by arrogance, Hitler kept sending his planes up. The Royal Air Force was more than happy to shoot him out of the sky. This is the part of the story where it gets weird. The returning German pilots would report to high command about these strange glowing balls of light that would fly in formation with them. The German pilots were afraid of these fiery balls of light. They would fly in formation and maneuver like they were going to hit the aircraft. A German ace reported back to high command, "It must be a new weapon the Allies have." At the same time, British and American pilots were reporting seeing these strange balls of light that would maneuver in and out of their formation. One British pilot described them looking like Christmas lights. They were flying around, and they were being intelligently controlled. After so many pilots were reporting seeing these strange balls of light flying in and out of their formation, The Allies thought this must be a weapon that Hitler has developed. One American pilot reported, "They show up in many different sizes. They're definitely intelligently controlled, and they glow a fiery red, sometimes yellow, white, and even blue." Another American pilot reported, "Sometimes these strange balls of light will be about the size of a baseball, sometimes as big as a basketball, and someone or something is flying these things." Reports kept coming in from pilots. The objects flew alongside aircraft at 200 miles an hour and often outmaneuvered the aircraft they were chasing. These strange balls of light would never show up on radar. During the war, the pilots gave these objects a name. There was a cartoon that was popular at the time called Smokey Stover. The pilots called these balls of light Foo Fighters. Well over 70 years later, people are still seeing these Foo Fighters. Not in the sky, but on the ground. What are these Foo Fighters, and why are we seeing them today?
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Special thank you to Wes Germer and Sasquatch Chronicles for letting us showcase that here tonight on Paranormal Portal. It's a real honor. I'm sorry, I misannounced it on the front end of that. Sorry about that. Foo Fighters. He was going to send me a Dogman one too, but we never did get around to that. So that's my mistake. But yeah, very well done. He's not just about Bigfoot, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Germer is a pretty multifaceted person. So. And a wonderful friend as well. So thank you so much for that, Wes. I appreciate it. And I hope you guys enjoyed that too. I mean, how could you not? It was a theater of the mind. You gotta love that. You gotta love that. So good stuff. Thank you, Cashew. I appreciate that. Anytime, Farm. I wish I could take any credit for it. I just can't. All I did was push play. Wes did all the legwork on that one. Did all the heavy lifting. But anyway, that's going to about wrap up the show, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for sticking it out with me here on the Paranormal Portal. I hope you feel in leaving that you're entertained. And if you did, please subscribe. Please subscribe to us. Please like the stream if you would as well. It helps us a bunch in getting our videos promoted in the YouTube bot realm. So your likes are thoroughly appreciated because that does help feed the algorithm so that we get recommended as much as possible. But please spread the word too. We'd love more people to find the portal and be a part of what we're doing. And definitely check out the links in the description below. We have our Teespring site, which has portal gear. If you want to check out some of that, we got some available down below. teespring.com/stores/paranormal-portal. And our podcast is available on all the major podcast platforms, all of them, like the dozens of them that there are. We're on them. So if you find the Paranormal Portal out there, you can download us and take us with you as you're doing whatever it is you do. So anyway, that's all I got for you. I hope you guys had a good time. I will be back, of course, on Friday night for more of the show. I will be back tomorrow night with the Night Terrors, which for those of you that may be new, the Night Terrors are shorter videos. Those are, oh, you got a mug and a sticker. Thank you, Mara. I appreciate that. I saw Moog had a mug. Awesome. Thank you for that, Moog. Appreciate it a bunch. And to everyone else that supported our store, we appreciate it a bunch. It's a labor of love doing this show. It's certainly comes with its time and dedication, and what you're doing is really helping to support what we're doing and expanding what we will be able to do in the future. So it does mean a lot. It helps us a ton. So if you got a hankering for a new Paranormal Portal shirt or sweater, hoodie, not sweater, hoodie or sweatshirt, there's some options over there on the Teespring site. So Also, if you like the music on the portal, you can check out my Bandcamp site. That link is in the description as well. But the songs are all available for download that you heard here on the show tonight, except for Wes's stuff. I don't own any of that. So, all right. But anyway, all I can say is, oh, you'll be waiting a long time, Cha-Cha. I don't know how to fit our logo on a bikini. So all I got to say is, love y'all, be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. And I'll be back tomorrow night with the Night Terrors, our shorter format 1-hour shows dealing with ghostly encounters. So if you like ghost stories, come back. I'll do my best to entertain you then too. So love you all, take care, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.